Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of Logicast, the AWS News podcast brought to you by Logicata. I'm Carl Robinson, CEO and co-founder of Logicata, and I'm joined, as always, by my colleague, John Goodall. How are you doing today, John?
I need a holiday.
Today is your first day back from a 2-week holiday, so
Yep.
Is it really that bad?
Yep. I need to work out how to take a month off in the dark bit of the year, because we have an international audience. Those not in the UK probably don't realise quite how northern the UK is, and we're basically in the Arctic Circle, so it's really dark for a good month at the end of the year, and I don't like working when it's dark.
Any Norwegian listeners are probably tuning out right now, where it's dark 24 hours a day. But it is pretty miserable.
Sad lamp in.
I was going to mention the sad lamp because I knew you had it there somewhere within reach. Anyway, we are also joined today by special guest Brian Tarbox, who is Logicast alumni. You've been on the podcast with us before, so it's great to welcome you back again, Brian. But I think things have changed a little bit for you since the last time. So tell us what you've been up to.
Sure. Hi, and great to be back. And I will say, although it has been, although the skies are dark and there isn't much light, today is the end of the Premier League festive fixtures, 29 games in 11 days, which is just, amazing, which is, it's wonderful. And I have, I actually got sort of a wonderful, is this good news? Shock this morning when I got a large Amazon bill from CloudWatch because my Alexa, I have to say it quietly, Alexa skill was getting so crazy much traffic that my CloudFront was going nuts. So that's a good thing, I guess. But yes, you've noticed that my shirt says Kalent. Kalent is a wonderful, wonderful place. In 2023, I had 2 companies fail out from under me due to, I guess I can say, malfeasance by their owners and stuff. And so I landed at Kalent. I'm working with the amazing Randall Hunt. And Kalent, I guess I think I'm maybe officially out of the honeymoon phase, but it still feels pretty awesome. I'm dealing with people who are brilliant and nice.
Wow,
you're hiring.
Great combo.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. And
hang on, are you hiring with European holiday allowances?
Well, we are hiring like gangbusters. And I can't say our numbers, but man, but yeah, no, the people are so nice. It's and they always say you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room or the smartest person in the room. At Kalent, there is very little danger of that.
And are the people who are brilliant and nice, are they one and the same, or are some brilliant and some are nice?
No. That is the crazy thing. It's there. It seems to be a positive correlation, which is almost unheard of. In that I actually have in 6 months, I haven't run into anyone who I wouldn't want to go have a drink with. But they're just wonderful. And I'll say my boss has been giving me crazy amounts of airtime as well. I mean, I will say at the New York Summit, where I'd been a Kalian for about 2 days, they said, "Hey, we're filming some stuff. You want to, come along?" I go, "Okay, sure. I'll hold the camera lights or something." And Randall did one video, and then he said, "Oh, the next one's on AI and bias and ethics." He said, "But I'm really tired. Brian's going to do this one." And I'm like, "Oh, he is?" And I said, when is Brian going to do this?" And the camera guy goes, So they're showing a lot of faith, but it's fun. And as my wife will say, the most dangerous place in the world is to stand between me and a microphone. So I will own that.
Nice. And we were just talking in our preamble about reInvent and your new cape. So you are, of course, an AWS hero, Brian. Tell us about the cape.
Well, I had been, thank you. Yeah, I'd said, look, if we're going to be heroes, we need capes, and various people were like, well, no one's going to be shameless enough to wear capes, and I said, have you met me? So I got a cape, and I $10 at Amazon. I ironed on the hero logo, and I wore it around. There actually was a company at the show that would make heroized pictures of you, and so they made a heroized picture of me. It was like, looks like the Batman with the body armor and and a mask.
Yeah,
and
I saw
stuff.
that actually.
Nice.
I did see that.
Yeah, right. It's fun, but I ran into Werner, and at a hero thing, and he said, "Brian, you finally got your cape," and I'm like, "Oh my god, he knows who I am," and and he knows that I've been going for a cape. So it's he's just a wonderful man, and as always, his keynote was amazing.
So is yours the only AWS hero cape, or have other heroes taken your lead now?
I have, most of them have asked me to bring capes for them next year. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to have a rocking business. And I was thinking of making a new one that had like little pockets for the phone and badges and stuff. It's
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Why not? It could be a great little sideline. I hope you've set the pricing expectations already for the hero capes for next year.
No, we heroes take care of each other. It's all.
Oh, okay, I see.
It's all good. And I will say, I mean, one of the nicest things about the hero program is that, I mean, as with I'm in Boston and y'all aren't, and I have friends all over the world, through the program, and it's just wonderful. So
yeah, I guess it's a case of you scratch my back and I will cover yours with a cape. So there we go.
Yes.
Whenever anyone says capes, I think of the Incredibles movie. It's them with the cape. No capes.
Okay,
Sucked into a vortex, pulled into an airliner. It was brilliant.
Right.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about dressing up as superheroes or AWS heroes. We are, in fact, here to talk about AWS news. And some of our news is a little old because we, like everyone else, have taken some time out for the last couple of weeks for the festive and New Year holiday period. But we have got a collection of news articles taken from my weekly AWS News Roundup newsletter a couple of weeks ago before I knocked off for Christmas. And the first of those articles is an article from the Seattle Times about the most topical thing in AWS news right now. It is, of course, AI. So John did say that we've managed to do at least one episode of the podcast without talking about AI. This isn't one of them. We're going to lead straight into season 3, episode 1. First podcast of 2024, and we're going to jump straight in feet first and talk about AI. So this one is based on an interview with AWS CEO Adam Selipsky about his AI vision for AWS. And one of the things I quite liked about this article myself when I read it, because I did actually read it for a change, was the 3-layer stack that he outlined in terms of AWS's vision, with infrastructure for AI at the bottom layer. So obviously your NVIDIA GPU powered server farms, etc., that run the enormous models. Then of course in the middle layer, you've got the models, the large language models, which we're going to talk a little bit about. And then, of course, at the top layer, which is what most people think of when they think of AI, is the applications that run on top of those models. So a lot of people think of ChatGPT when they think of generative AI. Other apps are available, such as Amazon Q, of course, which was launched at reInvent recently. I quite like the way that Adam outlined that 3-layer stack in terms of AWS's vision. So, Brian, I'm going to go to you first because I know this is an area that you're quite interested in. And, of course, you were at reInvent and John and I were not. So what do you make of all of this AI buzz?
Well, of course, it's fascinating. And I have to stipulate it by saying that I for one, welcome our robot overlords. It's there's so much to unpack, and I think the three layers is actually a great starting point because we are in such early days, and I've seen news articles that say, "Oh, Amazon is behind," and it's like, I'm not sure. I agree, and they're like, people are saying, "Oh, Titan isn't the very best model in the world," and it's like, it doesn't have to be. I mean, as we have seen more and more models, come online, the bedrock approach of being an API on top of the models begins to look fairly brilliant. And I don't know if anyone remembers, probably, I don't know, they should, but I'm not sure if anybody younger than me remembers the Marvin Minsky's book, Society of Mind, where he talked about the different intelligences that make up human intelligence. And I think that could correspond to lots of different models. So some people have said, "Oh, we need a model that can handle everything." And it's like, no, I don't think so. We're beginning to see the diversification where you have models that are better at summarization, models that are better at doing, image generation, and I think we're going to continue to see lots of specializations. I mean, even if you haven't read Minsky's book, we talk about, emotional intelligence and social intelligence and cognitive intelligence, and I think that's going to mirror into these models. And so having a thing like Bedrock that can, do some analysis, figure out what kind of question the question is, and then pick an appropriate model. I think that's quite brilliant. So that's really interesting. I mean, there's just so much, and I'll say my background is in cognitive psychology. I was working with dolphins, but dolphins, humans, kind of the same. And one of the things that has really struck me is how much LLM, how many human cognitive behaviors the LLM seem to be mimicking. So, they have the primacy and recency effect. So if you have a long prompt, the things at the beginning and the things at the end are paid more attention to than the things in the middle, just like humans do. And if you tell an LLM that it's really good at a thing, it will do a better job. And that's really shocking. I mean, if you'd asked me if that was going to happen, if you'd asked me a year ago if that was going to be the case, I'd say no way. But that's fascinating, and I can go off on some tangents, or we can go back to the actual article as you like.
Tangents are always good. We usually the
as are tangerines, given it's Christmas.
Those are all gone. Christmas is finished. Considering you're the man who hates Christmas and you're still talking about Christmas on the 2nd of January.
I don't hate Christmas. I could go on a massive tangent about that. It gets banned from many things because it's quite anti-religious. So let's just move on.
Yeah, let's talk about AI because at least it's relevant.
Okay. So one of the first papers that I wrote was on user modeling back in '87, and I think this is an area that is going to sort of resurface as an interesting topic. And I sort of dipped my toe back into it with Alexa, where Alexa can be more personable if it has a model of who it's speaking to. So like I do Premier League football. I'm not going to say that S word because I'm talking to,
Premier League.
Right. So my Alexa skill knows what teams you like, but more importantly for Premier League, what teams you hate. So like in our household, you can't even wear red because my son so hates Arsenal. But if if Arsenal has done badly and I know that you like Arsenal, my skill will say, "Oh, Arsenal had a bad day." But if my skill knows that you hate Arsenal and Arsenal has a bad day, they stunk again. But so you have to have a model, and this does tie back in that lots of people who are doing prompt engineering talk about telling the model, "You're good at answering this question." But it's much, much less common for people to say, "Talk to me as if I am an expert," or "Talk to me as if I am a novice." And I think that's really important. And I mean, I've also heard the chat systems described as mansplaining as a service. And I actually asked chat what it thought about being called mansplaining as a service. And it said, well, that's humorous, but a little critical. So I think I hurt its feelings, which is quite interesting. But it's, one of the key components of mansplaining is overconfidence, overgeneralization, and not paying attention to who you're speaking to. I mean, I love the stories where someone explains to someone else about what some book means, and it turns out they're talking to the author. I mean, those are wonderful. I just love those. So yesterday, I asked one of these systems, explain serverless to me as if I was in 6th grade. It's like, okay. And then I said, okay, now explain it to me as if I had a PhD in computer science. And it gave very, very different answers. And they were better answers. But we don't seem to have so far the notion of a persistent and evolving model of who you're speaking to. And I think we should. Now, Amazon Q, which is part of their contingent in this area, is quite interesting. And Q is, it's I think it's at this point. And for people who don't know Q, there are now in most places in the console you can ask natural language questions. And so I got a huge CloudWatch bill this morning. And so I went into CloudWatch and I clicked on Q and I said, why is this bill so high? And it gave me some answers. And I said, what can I do about it? It gave me some answers. And that's actually quite cool. And it has...
Were they good? Were they correct answers?
Yes.
Useful answers?
Yeah. I mean, and it actually saved me from going down a rabbit hole, because it turns out that most of the files that were CloudFront, that were generating CloudFront costs, were small image files. But if you call a small image file a million times, it adds up. And I was starting to go down the, I want to change my cache headers in the CloudFront distribution behavior tab to, it's like, oh God. And then I saw Q said, and by the way, it won't do it for JPEGs or GIFs. I'm like, well, okay, then forget it. So that was nice. But so Q is getting better. But one of the things that we talked about, because we heard about Q, 6 months ago or so under NDA and so on, was the notion, again, of user modeling, in that it should know if you're an expert or not an expert. So, like, I know CloudFront pretty well, so give me a higher level answer. But other systems I don't know as well. So I think there's lots of room for that to evolve. And I think, in fact, that may be one of the big places that we go next. I mean, there's so much going on. We're already hearing. I mean, it's so funny. The life cycle has gone so quick. It's like, people say, "Oh, none of this neural network stuff existed 6 months ago," and it's like, I was doing neural network stuff in '87. Come on. It's just taken off. But I've already seen articles saying, RAG is over. RAG is about to be over. And it's like, most people are like, whoa, what's RAG? And if you don't know, it's retrieval augmented generation. And the idea is that you can do a query to find out information about, the specific topic that you're asking about, and add that to the prompt. And then the LLM will know more about it. But it's definitely a bit of a pain. You have to collect this information. You have to vector encode it. Some of the vector encoding systems are expensive. Postgres. No, I mean, Postgres is a good one. Postgres, is a much less expensive one. But people are already, most people are still just learning what RAG is, and now we're already seeing articles saying, "Oh, RAG is over. There'll be new, better ways to do it." So I think, circling back, I think Bedrock is the great approach to stay flexible. Right up here at this level, most people don't need to be down here. I mean, back in the day, people were writing, sort algorithms in C, and nobody does that anymore, because we're working at a higher level.
I mean, that's the thing that AWS have done with a number of their AI services pre-Bedrock. That was the whole thing of recognition. It was, here's a bunch of things that do some cool stuff for you. Hit the API, it'll do what you ask it to. Have they got PPE on? What's in this image? is there anything offensive? Give me a confidence that there's nudity or adult content or whatever. And it was just, here's an API, great. I don't have to worry about any of the rest of it. I can just consume. So it definitely feels like a continuation of form, but just with a lot more going on underneath it rather than like one model.
Right. And it's funny that you mentioned recognition, because one of the things that was really striking in Werner's keynote, brilliant keynote, by the way, it's he always brings the heart and the soul, and he talked about and I see your cat moving in the background, very pretty cat. He talked about, don't always go for generative AI. Old ML is still really, really interesting. And they had a keynote speaker from a group called Thorn, I believe, that was using, ML to try to find, child abuse pictures on the dark web. And it's like, okay, I can get behind trying to shut that kind of stuff down. And you don't need generative AI. It's not generative. It's just machine learning. I mean, it's just machine learning.
Bunch of if statements.
A little more than that, but
sometimes I'm amazed by what can be achieved with AI, generative AI, image recognition, and so on and so forth. And sometimes I'm incredibly frustrated. So I spent my day yesterday tidying up some old mountain bikes to be sold. And I like to sell things on Facebook Marketplace because it's free. So I listed a girl's bike on Facebook Marketplace. Then I listed a boy's bike on Facebook Marketplace. And granted, they are very similar. But the AI decided that they were the same and that I created a duplicate listing, and therefore I need to change the photos of the boy's bike because they're the same as the pictures of the girl's bike. And they're not. They're different shape. They're different colors. They were taken in the same location in slightly different light. And I thought, a AI fail, methinks. It's definitely not a human making that decision. And no ability for me to override. So, we're making some great advances in some places. But in other places, there's still a long way to go, I think. And I guess that's not down to the technology. It's probably down to the way that it was coded for that particular use case. But yeah.
Right. Well, and there's so many of these things. I mean, I was asking yesterday, I'm doing some coding, and I asked one of these systems to tell me how to do a certain thing. And it gave me the answer, and I didn't like the answer. I said, "Can you give me a better answer?" And it's like, "Okay, sure." And like, well, wait a minute. Why don't we start with that?
Did you like the better answer?
Yeah. It turns out that it was, I guess I was looking for a really simple answer because it was New Year's Day and I wasn't so interested in coding. I wanted to watch Liverpool, but but it was okay. But yeah, there's definitely mixes, and there's definitely times when it's disappointing. I will say I've had a lot of fun asking it to rewrite some of my blogs from different personas. So I had a blog about serverless, and I said, write it from the point of view of a surfer dude in California. It's like, whoa, serverless, man. And then I said, write it from the point of view of of a redneck. And it's like, well, then they're Amazonians off. They're yammering again. And then I said, okay, write it from the point of view of a overly educated, uptight liberal from Boston. And it basically gave me back my original.
So it can be very smart.
Yes. I'll be here all week. Tip your waitress.
Cool. Well, I'm conscious of time, so that was a very interesting discussion about AI, but we have got some other articles that we wanted to touch on. I don't think we're going to get through all of them, but let's skip on to the second article in the list this week. And this one is about how AWS has added automated detection of unused IAM roles, users, and permissions. So, John, we haven't heard much from you this year yet. It is only the first day back, and you're already jaded. But tell us.
Born jaded.
Tell us why this excites you.
Oh, because you pay me to be excited about it. Right. So this is a continuation of IAM Access Analyzer generally. Right. So a little while ago that came out, and what you could do was you could monitor a cloud trail, I think, and it would generate a list of permissions to achieve the things that you'd done in that trail time. So you had to give yourself like privileged access, then go and do the job you needed to do, and then it would spit out here's all the things that you've actually done policy. Cool. We like that. Good way of doing least privilege. The other side of least privilege is making sure that people and roles that aren't being used anymore are removed. This is cool. This is great. We like this. The detection was kind of already there because you could look at an access key, you could look at a user, you could see their last console login time or the last time it was used. This is for IAM. I think you can do the same for SSO users and roles as well. You can look at the last time they were used, but it was only in the console. This is now basically a tool that kind of wraps all that up into a nice kind of graphic. So it gives management types this lovely set of charts, which I know you like, Carl, because you like a graph.
Love a chart. Yeah, love a chart. It's got pie charts and bar charts in there as well. So two of my favorite charts.
What's the difference between a bar graph and a line and a column graph? Because it's like the same data but the other way.
Right.
I don't understand why they're doing that, but whatever. God, my maths teacher would fire me for that or shoot me, whatever it is that maths teachers do. But that's cool. That's quite handy. We like that because it means from a sysadmin type perspective, you can go in and see that, these people haven't used anything for a while. Are they still with the company? Did I not get a notification that they'd left? Or, did they just no longer work in that role? Or did they just not need access? And we can go and clean all that up. That's great. Standard annoyances with this, though, is you can activate it through the console or through the API. No CloudFormation support from day one. Thank you so much. I think this is a thing that CBs and heroes and consultants the world over have been crying out for years. It's give me a new service and give me CloudFormation support on day one, please. Because what this results in, invariably, is Terraform gets there first, and you'll be able to do this with Terraform by the end of the week. And CloudFormation, it'll be a year. Cool. So, nice feature. Really annoying shortcoming in terms of turning it on.
Although you could always use a custom Lambda custom resource.
Yeah, but then I have to write unit tests for my custom resource.
Well, that's true. That's true. Because if you get it wrong, it's really bad. Because the CloudFormation stack can get hung for 4 hours, and there's nothing you can do about that.
I've been there before where you forget to do a delete action for it, and it goes, I don't know what to do now, and it just sits there for half a day.
Right. So one of the things that strikes me about this whole access analyzer approach is, what about the extreme situations? What about, so this is all, so you turn it on and you let it go for a week, and let's suppose it's a good week and nothing catastrophic happens. But suppose that you, in your disaster recovery scripts or whatever, you need an elevated privilege, which seems quite a reasonable concept. The access analyzer wouldn't see that role had been used, and so it would say, no, you never need the ability to, I don't know, delete a CloudFormation stack or whatever. And it's like, oh, but I do now,
Yeah, that's a problem that you have with a lot of these tools, be it for access or for cost or for whatever, is they don't have the context of what you're actually using these things for. So automatic remediation, and I don't think it was mentioned in the article, is something I'm always very cautious of, because it's the big one is cost savings, and it's not applicable for this, but the big one is cost savings. It's, you're not using these EBS volumes, they're not attached to anything. Yeah, that's because of how the system works. It will attach to them, do things with them, and then detach from them again once it's finished. So just the timings don't match up, but they are being used. I think Spacewalk does that. So it's all about context. It's just more data, I think.
Right. And the other thing is that this new access analyzer is a paid. It's a paid thing. So leave it on long. So leave it on.
Leave it on long term
to cover all the different cases, but don't leave it on a lot.
Yeah, basically.
Cool. All right, let's skip on to our next article, which I think is probably going to be the last one we have time for this week. But this one is about the free tier API, which has recently been exposed by AWS. And I'm wondering, Brian, if this might have helped you with your unexpected CloudWatch bill from your soccer skill.
Oh God, that S word! My ears are bleeding. Well, yes, conceptually, I love the idea. I mean, I think I think a great interview question if you were hiring someone for Amazon, and I hope you can't hear my dog barking, but
we can, but John's cat can't. So I think we're good.
Okay, 1 second. Oh God. Okay, I'm getting a delivery of something. I like the idea of so one of I think a great interview question would be, tell me a time that you had an unexpected Amazon bill. And
every month.
Well, right. But the thing is, if the candidate says, "Oh, I've never gotten one," then it's like, well, then I know you haven't been serious. So I think it is a great thing. I mean, there's also, I don't know. I have budget alerts set up. It's also, I'll say, free tier is tricky, especially if you have credits, because the way Amazon does credits,
it's not applicable for everything,
right? But also, I'll get a bill and it'll say you owe $0, and but then I see my credit coming down. It's like, what did I spend my credits on? And there are ways to do it, but it's tricky. So, but I think this is a great thing. I think it's clearly a response to, I think Azure or GCP has something where you can say, I'm only in free tier and don't let me.
Oracle Cloud does that. I know for a fact. So you have to explicitly say, I want to pay money now.
Oracle has a cloud?
Oracle, not really a cloud.
Sorry, I didn't know. I guess I didn't realize whether I was being sarcastic or not.
They have an offering. They call it a cloud. I don't think it really is, but that has a thing. I think GCP as well has a thing where you basically have to say, yes, I'm willing to give you money now. And this is one of the bugbears that I think a lot of people have had with AWS's free tier is, one, that's not a thing. It's not really a free tier. And there's kind of three different types of it as well, because there's the free for a bit, there's the always free, and then there's free up to a point. So it's okay.
Right. Although to give them credit, I mean, I do get periodically email saying you've hit 85% of your free tier for each month for CloudWatch metrics, because I do a lot of metrics for my skill because I monitor. So yeah, I think it's absolutely a good thing. I mean, it addresses a pain point, and if it lets I don't know, I've clearly drunk the Kool-Aid for Amazon, or it's a phrase that I'm really wish would become a meme. I've waterboarded the Kool-Aid. And in that, if it gives AWS a way to say, yeah, you don't have to worry about those other guys. We can do this too. It makes sense, and it is. I think it stipulate that no company is I don't know. Every company is a business, and so they'll have that aspect to it. But Amazon does really, I think, try to be good to the customer. But I have to make a reference a reference to. Have you all seen the show Upload?
No.
Oh, it's a wonderful show about you get to go to this paid virtual reality, after you die. And
I've seen clips of it on TikTok, I think. Yeah, I've seen bits of it.
This does tie back, I promise, in just a sec. And they talk about, and it's not Verizon, it's Horizon. And, so they do these things. And they talk about this unnamed company whose logo used to be "Don't Be Evil." But in the show, it's the logo is "Don't Be Evil," obviously. but they're like, is that don't be evil, obviously, or don't be obviously evil? It's like, oh, interesting. So, but I think Amazon really does try to, save you money where it can, because they're making plenty of money, keep the users happy, and being nice, being cost conscious to your folks who are just trying your service is a great business model. It's a win-win, and that's what we want to see. We want to see win-wins.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we have reached the end of our time for this week. So thank you very much for your insights today, Brian. It's been great to have you on as a guest. We must be doing something right if people are happy to come back. So we really appreciate you joining us again. And John, you don't really have a choice, do you? So you just...
Well,
you love it, really. You love it. You love it.
Well, thanks for having me. This is always a blast. I mean, chatting with smart people and kibitzing is all kinds of fun.
Well, we really appreciate your insights, and thank you both, John and Brian, for your input this week. That was Season 3, Episode 1 of Logicast. Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of Logicast. Don't forget, you can download us wherever you get your podcasts, and if you'd like to see what we look like, you can see us on YouTube as well. Thanks for listening. See you again next time.
And come on, you Spurs.